Welcome to Frog Talk, an Auction Frogs podcast series all about events and fundraising in a post-2020 world. For more information on Auction Frogs and the services we offer, visit auctionfrogs.org today.
Hey, this is Corey Michaels. Welcome to another edition of Frog Talk, your leap into fundraising. And today, we've got another wonderful auctioneer from Summit Auctions, Kevin Seward, who is in the studio with me here to talk about where he came from, his passion for being able to help nonprofits, to help fundraising, and so much more. And who knows, somewhere along the line, I'm pretty sure we're related. We haven't figured out where, but some distant,
but we'll get there.
Yeah, some distant cousin or something.
Yes.
Anyways, welcome, buddy.
Well, thanks, Corey. It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to sitting down and sharing you with a little bit about what we do. And this is a great cause. We've always enjoyed being part of Auction Frogs and working with the wonderful staff. And it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Well, buddy, let's just start with, what is your why? When did it start? How did it start with you, with Summit Auctions? Let's go ahead and unpack that suitcase.
Sure. Well, I was born and raised in the auction industry. My grandfather started an auction company in 1979 here in the Treasure Valley and grew to be one of the most prominent estate and personal property and real estate auction companies in the valley. My mother was the head cashier for the company, and so instead of babysitting, she brought me along, and I was just part of the crew. And so I was running tickets back and forth when I was 2 years old, and my grandpa handed me the microphone when I was 12 and said, "Here you go, kid." And I remember the days of actually telling my grandfather, I think I can do what you do, Grandpa. And he said, "Let's give it a go." And it was on-the-job training, let's just say that for sure, and hours of practice thereafter. And I basically turned professional at the age of 15 and started traveling and doing auctions through the benefit and charity aspect when I was about 15 years old with my grandfather. Mm-hmm. And I have been doing that now, if you can believe it, for the last 25 years. And so that has been an incredible ride. Still to this day, I do those sales with my now 80-plus-year-old grandfather, who we have to pretty much tie to a chair because he's got a motor that won't quit, and he wants to be out there helping people. So that being said, that has transitioned into the commercial industry, and we now have a company called Summit Auctions where we conduct personal property sales. We sell real estate, we sell estates, and that's our primary gig. Let's just say that's our bread and butter, and which is wonderful because it gives us the opportunity to be able to do benefit and charity stuff on the side and focus on those causes that we really can connect with, for sure.
Now, for you, I mean, obviously it's dyed in the wool. I mean, this came very naturally as to how you became an auctioneer. The nonprofit side of things and the charity side of things, I know you just touched on that. All of the other things, the real estate and commercial and all that, allows you to be able to have the passion project for Summit Auctions, which is doing the nonprofits. When did that kind of start?
Well, I think the best part with it is that it started first. You know, with okay. What my grandfather had instilled and where he wanted me to be able to focus and learn some of the craft was through the nonprofit side. And so when I was 12 and 13 years old, the first couple of years that he would, I remember there was a small Christian school just right down the road here, Maranatha Christian School. They've bulldozed it since, but right. That was where I started. And that's where he wanted me to learn how to work and interact with people and learn about the causes. And so I think the bonus part to that is that my trade and my craft was crafted first and foremost through the benefit and nonprofit side. And so that has then transitioned into the commercial industry. So I guess if I had anything to say, it would be the fact that it was a huge plus for me to start there and really solidify that passion for the nonprofits and then be able to carry that into the commercial world.
Well, one of the things that I've have respected in the short time that we've known each other is that passion, because this is not again, in all of our podcasts, we keep saying it's not to disparage others. It's just to say there is a difference and not all are created equal. And there are MCs, there are auctioneers, there's auction companies that are there to make a paycheck.
Right.
And then there's the ones that truly are passionate about your cause. They want to be an extension of your nonprofit. And that's the way I've always felt. And I know that's the way you've always felt, Kevin, is that it's about really learning, immersing ourselves into that nonprofit so that we're able to share their story. And that's the way that we can make the most amount of money.
Yeah, you're right. And Corey, that I think what you touched on there is being that extension. Yeah. We are there as a representative for those people, not for us.
Right.
When I walk into that, I'm not Kevin Seward or Corey Michaels. I am Kevin with blank organization.
Yeah.
And I am. And that's what they want from us, is to be able to truly know that we are just the voice and the platform for them to be able to express their need. And I think that's so important in our industry and where it is missed so greatly, because you'll see people walk up there and there'll be a dog and pony show and they will wave their own flag and say, look how cool I am and all the wonderful things that I can do. And they'll forget why they're there.
Yeah. And the thing is the best, just like with Kevin, is the ones that are about, that know who the star of that event is. And the star of the event is your nonprofit. It is, the kids that we're helping, the animals, whatever the cause happens to be, that's the star. We're there to be able to celebrate that star and to keep that star shining.
Yeah. And my grandfather had a saying that I've learned a long, long time ago, is he almost always starts out a lot of his events by saying, here's the great opportunity. We are here today to give to an organization and addressing the crowd. We are here today to support whatever organization it is. And the best part is that we get to leave with some really fun and cool gifts or prizes.
Right.
But first and foremost, we are here to support this organization and give to these kids or give to that cause. And in return, we get to walk away with some really cool stuff. And that's what that's about, whether that be, one-of-a-kind, handcrafted gifts made by children in small schools, or whether that's a week trip to a tropical island somewhere that you also get to take your family on. But the fact is, you get to come here and give to this great cause and then walk away with something really cool. And I think that's what we also want to focus on.
Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room that is known as 2020.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, for sure. Deservedly so, the introduction. Yeah.
So how did that affect you, and how did you I hate using this term because it got so overused, but how did you pivot? How did you change? How did you evolve through all that? And what do you see moving forward from here?
Gee, it's a roller coaster, and conundrum is the only two words that you can really come up with, and maybe off the tip of your tongue. I think in this situation, and this what has happened, Corey, this has been such a different year for us.
Yeah. And
I don't know that there is a way to figure that out, except to ride the roller coaster and just do whatever you can.
Well, there is no manual.
Right.
And exactly, unfortunately, we didn't get this sent to us saying, okay, here's how to navigate these waters.
Right.
And so, we just kind of figure it out as we go. But for you and for Summit Auctions, how did that that kind of go?
Yeah. From a nonprofit and benefit and charity standpoint, I kind of revert back to some of the conversations that we've had prior to this. And I have the opportunity to do benefit and charity sales as something that I want to do.
Right.
And it has not been anything that we have had to hang our hat on and say, if we don't do this, we will not survive.
Right.
Our name, our reputation, and what we do and who I am and what my grandfather has instilled in us in this valley have given us opportunities. I have traveled in pre-COVID times. We were everywhere from Anchorage, Alaska, half a dozen times a year, down all the way through Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and into Nevada. And so we were doing 25 to 30 plus auctions, benefit and charity auctions across the valley in a given year. And 2020 came, and I did my first nonprofit actual live auction 3 weeks ago for a small Christian school in Caldwell. So how has it changed? It hasn't changed. It's shut down in our world. It just went from 100 to 0. And we have been fortunate enough to work with some of the folks and the organizations that we have worked with for years and years and years, and refer them to organizations like Auction Frogs and get them in touch to people with a platform to help them, because the need's still there. Let's just be honest. I mean, just because COVID hit and whether it had been PPP money or whether it had been reserve funds that they had on hand, the need was still there. The coffers still had to be filled.
The world stopped, but the need did not.
Correct. And so we had to find ways to work with those individuals. And albeit we might not have been on the end of a microphone, we were there giving them contact information or trying to brainstorm with other means, other ways that they could come up that would allow them the opportunity to flex with the times and still meet the needs that they had. And so from us personally, that's what we've had to rely on. And we've just gone to those folks and said, call us when you're ready. When this smoke clears and we are ready to get back in the saddle, just know that we're not going anywhere. We're here, we're committed to your cause, and we are ready to help when and where needed.
From your perspective, what do you see and what advice would you give for nonprofits, for, really anyone moving forward, and how to be able to get back to some form of normalcy that we're all striving to try and find?
Yeah. Boy, tough one to really analyze there on the fly. But I think what I look at and I have really felt coming from our organizations is this mentality of trust your constituents, trust those who are part of your organization to come through. Because I think time and time again, we have seen that, and whether that's in the secular or whether that's in the denominational aspect of it, and just trusting that the public and your constituents will come through. And I think as we do that, whether that means adapting with an online presence and creating a platform where you reach a different and broader audience through your online sales, which we have seen a huge amount of those institutions and organizations going to, which is wonderful and horrible because it takes the microphone out of a poor auctioneer's hands here, and he doesn't get to go out there and rattle those numbers off, but you just watch those numbers tick across the screen. But nonetheless, if the needs are being met and you're trusting those people to come through, I think you'll see that rings true. We want to get back in there. We want, as live auctioneers, to get in there and really be able to interact with the people, make those connections, and raise that money, to see the excitement, to feel the level of anticipation and anxieties and all the emotions that come with a live auction. We want to feel that with them. And then at the very end of the thing, high five each other and just and be so excited about the results of that sale.
I assume, and I'm sure you feel the same way, at the end of that event, when all of the dollars have been tallied and all the excitement is done, that we can set down our microphones and know that we left everything there. Yeah. You're exhausted. You are spent 100%. That's how you know you gave everything to that. Yeah. And I'm so excited to get that feeling again, because it's been way too long.
It is. It has been. And it's the adrenaline rush.
Yes.
You get it when you walk up there and you feel that surge of adrenaline, because it's showtime. It is. It's showtime. And just as an athlete gets when they take their stage, just as we get that same rush. And just know that it's something that we are excited to be a part of and excited to do. And you're right. Walking off that stage, just putting that mic on the stand and sitting down and saying, give me 2 minutes to catch my breath, and just know that everybody's out there hooting and hollering and having a great time, and not even about the work that you personally, you or I just did, but about their excitement for the cause.
Exactly.
And I think that's where, when you walking away and saying, look what the money you just raised, look at the amount of either kids that you just helped or whatever that cause may be. I don't care what it is. Those kinds of things, and being able to just quantify some of that. And I think that's been some of my greatest treasures and greatest wins in this, is going back to these different, again, whether it be schools or organizations, and seeing the fruits of your labor, whether it be, the addition to a school gymnasium, or whether it be the new computer lab at a blank, or whether it be
new programs or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And being able to quantify those things, and then going back year after year and saying, man, that's really cool that I got to be a part of that.
What's next?
Exactly.
And we get excited. We get excited for you, because we're like, okay, cool. We were able to be a small part of helping you get there.
Right.
Now, what's the next phase?
Right.
And we geek out on that kind of stuff. We really do, because that's what our lives are, and that's what it's all about. And now all of Summit Auction, Kevin's information, that's all in the description of the podcast here, and you can always be able to get a hold of him. And wherever you happen to be, and now that travel restrictions are lifting some, so whether you're listening in Idaho or in Florida, Alaska, or wherever, get a hold of them if you need a quality, great, just dyed-in-the-wool, passionate auction company. Whatever your needs are, whether it's real estate, commercial, your nonprofit fundraising of efforts, whatever it happens to be, get a hold of Summit Auction. Again, their information all here in the description. I love this question, and I'm going to put you on the spot for it.
Let's do it.
But whenever I talk to fellow MCs, talking to auction companies, we've all seen the best and the worst in fundraising. And we've all had at least one, if not multiple, of those, oh my goodness, how are we going to get through this? What was the most challenging one for you?
Well, boy, having been in it for 25 years and literally conducted thousands of auctions, let's think through this. I'll give you the first one that pops in my head.
That's what I wanted.
The absolute first one that pops in my head. I was part of an auction that I did in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Flew in, and huge. I mean, the venue was 10 times bigger than it ever needed to be. And one of the things we always talk about, I always try to, is there's a sense of atmosphere. You got to get people close, got to make it a little uncomfortable, but they're captured. They're right there with you. There was so much space everywhere. And this huge organization had created a circus theme, was what it was. I'm standing in Minneapolis, Minnesota, on a stage in this giant venue. Mm-hmm. I was as big as, I was as small as that was big. Uh-huh. They had acrobats on tight ropes. They had women swinging on silk ropes. They had guys on trapezes swinging around. I mean, the distractions were astronomical. The space was huge. And they handed me a microphone. I didn't know who was in charge. I literally had flown in. It was probably one of the most unorganized things I've ever done in my life. And they handed me a microphone and said, go make us some money. And I stood on stage and I literally started counting numbers and selling to no one, because there was it was the most horrific thing. I sold for an hour. They were wildly disappointed in how the things had turned out. And I said, well, I don't know what you wanted me to do. Nobody was watching me. There was people swinging from the ceilings. Like, how did you really expect us to be able to?
Can you pause while I make you money?
Exactly. And then, oh, no, we pay these people by the hour. We wanted to get as much out of them as we possibly could. And these people were literally swinging like feet above the heads of the people in this venue. And it looked cool, but it was really, really, and I think there's other horror stories that I could go into.
Yes, we all have them. We all have them.
Yeah, from drunken bingo nights, where in bingo halls with people that, happy hour started at 4 and the auction didn't get going until 9. And I've got some of those stories that you'd hate to even ever incriminate people you knew, but
right.
Just one of those. But again, it has opened us to a world of being able to interact with some very interesting and colorful individuals.
That is a wonderful way to put it. Thank you for sharing, my friend.
Corey. It's a pleasure to be here.
And thank you so much for being on here again with us. And all of the, again, Summit Auction, Kevin Seward, all the information right here in the description. And we look forward to having you on again, my friend.
Anytime. Thanks, Corey.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Frog Talk, an Auction Frogs podcast series all about events and fundraising in a post-2020 world. For more information on Auction Frogs and the services we offer, visit auctionfrogs.org today.